What is good? What is up, good people? It's your boy KZ here, and today I want to talk about how old Kaido is, okay? Because I think it's something that's not really been given to us. You know, we've known about Kaido for over 100 chapters, more than 100 episodes as well. And we haven't really gotten a clue. We haven't gotten anything from Oda, his interviews. And I guess it's not really that, it hasn't been that important. But I feel that now, I think especially with the theories about Kaido's son, I feel like it's a bit more relevant just to help theorize how old Kaido's son could be. So that's the aim of today's video. Just talk about how old Kaido is and, you know, maybe a bit of what that means for how old his son could be as well. Okay, so talking about Kaido's age, I think the biggest clue we've had about it was in chapter 957, Ultimate, or The Ultimate, when they were talking about the Rocks crew, and they mentioned that Kaido was an apprentice pirate at the time. Now, I looked up apprentice pirate and what exactly that means, and there's nothing clearly defined or what makes one, especially that now it's also One Piece and Oda takes liberties. But I think that if you look at everyone who was an apprentice pirate at some point or another, and just look at all the characters who were, you'll see that we have Shanks. Shanks was when he was on Roger's crew. Buggy was. Marco was at some point. And I guess they say, you could say Blackbeard was as well. The four of them were. But looking at just the four of them and what they had in common, I guess the biggest factor is age, you know, because in 963, in the Oden flashback, we get when Whitebeard landed on island, Whitey Bay called Marco an apprentice, and that was 30 years ago. Right now, Marco is 45. That would make him 15 years old. He wasn't considered an apprentice. When on Roger's ship, when Shanks and Buggy were there, they were about 12, 13 at the time. Blackbeard was 13 years old, you know, so all of them were really young, okay? But interestingly enough, when you just look, I think about 3 chapters later in 966, when the Whitebeard pirates fought the Roger pirates, actually, question, are they called the Jolly Roger pirates or just called the Roger pirates? I just thought about that. Anyway, in that chapter, the way Marco talks, he talks like he's not an apprentice anymore. And also just the fact that I think in that battle, like, we see him as like one of the people in that panel in the foreground. On the other side, you don't really see Buggy and Shanks, and on Whitebeard's side, you don't see Teach either. So I feel like that's because like they didn't really include the apprentice pirates in that fight. That wasn't really something that they, you know, an all-out fight between like people of that level. I don't think that they'd really let apprentice pirates, you know, in on that. So I think that at that time Marco was not, and that was only 2 years later when he was 17. Okay, so if Marco was an apprentice pirate when he was 17, I feel like that may be the age of like cut off that now you're not an apprentice pirate. And that may be the case. That may actually be the case, because 17 years old seems like also the time when Luffy headed out. Because Luffy and Ace as well. Because when Ace headed out, he was 17 and Luffy was 14. When Luffy left, he was 17. So it seemed that 17, they both left. And I thought that was just random, but it seems like Oda is using this over and over. So it seems that also at 17 years old, you stop becoming an apprentice and actually become a proper pirate. Now, I'm not really sure what the significance with 17 is. I should probably check that real quick. Give me a sec.
A few moments later.
Okay, so I just did a quick search, and I have found nothing pointing to, you know, 17 being an age of significance in Japan, you know, because, you know, you got the classics, 13, 16, 18, 20, and stuff that you can do then. But I guess 17 is probably either going to be something related to Oda himself, and maybe something, you know, about what he thinks about 17, or maybe it's just a convenient number, I guess, in between 16 and 18, or it may just be a random number that he picked. You know, it might have just been a good number, you know. Maybe that's when he thought of doing One Piece, when he was 17. But, moving on, I guess from that, you could tell that Kaido was probably maximum of 16, since you become a proper pirate at 17. Now, on the other hand, you may also think that, okay, he doesn't necessarily have to be that young. He was probably just a new pirate. That's why they said he's an apprentice pirate. Although I don't think so, because when Odin joined Whitebeard's ship, he wasn't called an apprentice pirate. He was just called a new pirate. And that's what it seems to be for everyone else who's over 17 or 17 or above when they become pirates. They're all just called, they're not called apprentice pirates. They're actually called rookies. Yeah. So, the Supernova were rookies. Rockstar, when he joined Shanks' crew, was a rookie. The guys who were on Sabaody Archipelago 2 years later. So, what's his name? The fake straw hats. Guy with the swamp fruit. What's his name? Caribou. There we go. Caribou and all those lot. Those were all considered rookies. They were not considered apprentice pirates. So it seems that rookies is a word more reserved for, pirates 17 and over that are new to being pirates, while apprentices is more reserved for younger people who become pirates, whether they're new or whether they've been there for years. If you're under 17, it seems that you're called an apprentice pirate, not really a full-fledged pirate just yet. Okay, so bearing this in mind, it seems that the maximum age Kaido could be at that time, of the God Valley incident, is 16. You know what? I just realized I wasn't wearing these, so sorry, but I hope that counts for something. Sorry. So quickly, another thing that you would say is about the Kaido silhouette in 957, which is tall or taller than Whitebeard even, which makes sense because Kaido right now is 8 meters, over 8 meters. He's much taller than Whitebeard, meaning that he would have had to, outgrow Whitebeard at some point. But, teenage years are the best years for growing. So if you consider Kaido as a teenager back then, it makes sense as to why he's really that tall right now, Vista in 963 was only 17 and he was taller than so many people there who were much older than him. So, I guess in that sense, it just makes, it's okay. Now, if we say that Kaido was a maximum of 16, 38 years ago when the Rocks crew broke up, that will make Kaido around 54 right now in the story. And that makes sense because, whenever we see Kaido refer to Big Mom, he calls her that old woman, he calls her old hag. Of course, he does call her Lin Lin as well. Because I guess now that they're both old, he's in his 50s, she's in her 60s, I guess the age gap is lower, but sometimes I feel like it's still there with him, and so that's why he calls her an old hag, because she was in her late 20s when he was a teenager, so that makes sense. And also Whitebeard as well, when he was introduced and he fell from the Sky Island, he woke up, he had that moment, Shirohige no Jiji, So I guess with that, that would put Kaido at 54. Or rather, let me just say mid-50s, early to mid-50s, okay? And I guess that's what I'm going to put Kaido at. Now, moving on to the next part of this video, where I want to talk about the implications of how old Kaido is and what that means for his son. I guess this is what puts me against the theory that Kaido is Katakuri, Daifuku, and Oven's father. Because if Kaido is even maximum 54 and Katakuri is around 49, that will only put a 5-year age difference between Kaido and Katakuri, which is just not possible. So that's I guess the main reason why I'm against that theory, because I don't think Kaido is nearly that old. And yeah, I guess although one theory I do like, actually there's two of them. The two that I like is the one that Kaido-san is dead, and that and what that means for a deeper story arc for Kaido. There's one that I like concerning Jack, And maybe, I mean, since Jack is full fishman, maybe not Jack being his direct son, but being, you know, his son the way Jack and King and Queen are brothers, you know. They're not really, but they are, you know, in a sense, you know. They've chosen to be, essentially. And I guess I like it in that sense because not because I actually love Jack and love everything Jack's about, but I guess I just love the dynamic that would present. Because 20 years ago, when Kaido was taking over, it is mentioned that Jack was with Kaido back then. I mean, he probably just wasn't a big name. So if Jack was with Kaido, it could be because he was already under Kaido's wing as Kaido's son. That would make sense there. It also makes sense why Kaido didn't kill Momonosuke, because Momonosuke was 8 and back then Jack was 8 years old. So I feel like for Kaido, you know, it could have felt like he's also killing his son as well. And I like that whole dynamic there. It plays into like the Oden and Kaido parallels and that whole relationship. But yeah, I mean, all the other theories, you know, they're already out there. Whether it's the guy from 674 during the Punk Hazard arc, whether it's one of the Tobiropo, whether it's the leader of the Tobiropo, you know, all the other things, whether it's Shanks. Made a video about that. Which was a joke, okay? Anyway, people, let me know what you guys think about this and how old you guys think Kaido is, or what that could mean for his child. Whether you guys thought about this and you guys thought the same thing, let me know. Maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe there's a whole bunch of people out there who knew. Again, guys, as always, please like the video if you did, subscribe, and if you do know one person that needs to hear the truth, share this video with them. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.